Did you know that some of Britain's fastest and most comforting recipes were once made in less than 10 minutes? Way before frozen dinners and takeout food, families counted on these quick dishes to keep everyone fed without any trouble. From filling, tasty meals to sweet old-fashioned desserts, here are 19 old British recipes you'd only find in really old cookbooks. Scotch Woodcock was a favorite back then, and it stayed popular for quite a while. Even though it has this name, the recipe doesn't have any woodcock bird in it. Instead, it's basically made with creamy scrambled eggs served on buttered toast topped with anchovies on top. The eggs are cooked soft and smooth, sometimes seasoned with a little nutmeg or pepper, while the salty anchovies add extra flavor. It was thought of as a fancy late dinner dish, especially popular with rich people and smart people at Oxford and Cambridge, where it often showed up in their common rooms. It took very little time to make, but the way it looked made it seem fancy, making it more than just a simple egg dish. Deviled kidneys on toast were once a main part of big British breakfasts. Especially during the early to mid-1900s, the dish is made by quickly frying lamb kidneys in a pan with a spicy mix of mustard and cayenne pepper before putting them on thick slices of buttered toast. The flavors are bold, peppery, and a little tangy, making it a strong way to start the day. This dish was really popular with working men, gamekeepers, and soldiers who wanted something filling and lasting before heading out to work. Many older British people remember waking up to the smell of sizzling kidneys in cast iron pans. A reminder of a time when breakfast was a meal meant to give you energy for the whole day. Potted shrimps are one of the UK's most special traditional foods, especially connected with coastal towns like Morecambe Bay in Lancashire. The dish is made by gently heating small brown shrimps in spiced butter like with nutmeg, mace, and white pepper before packing them tightly into small pots. Once cooled, the butter hardens, keeping the shrimps fresh and giving them a rich smell and taste. Potted shrimps were often eaten as a light dinner or spread onto toast for a snack with tea. They were handy since you could make them ahead of time. Easy to make but full of flavor, they were a way of keeping seafood fresh before refrigerators became common, keeping the taste of the ocean alive on land. Kippers, grilled or buttered kippers or smoked herring, were once a breakfast main food across Britain, especially in seaside towns and fishing areas. Making them was as simple as brushing them with a little butter and quickly grilling them. They could also be boiled in the bag or lightly fried. Kippers were enjoyed by working families as a protein-rich start to the day, but they were also thought healthy enough to show up on the breakfast menus of boarding schools, hospitals, and even hotels. Many remember mornings when the whole house would smell of smoked fish served with bread and butter or a wedge of lemon. Though less common today, kippers once stood for the strength and food of the traditional British breakfast table. Sardines on toast. Before fast food became common, sardines on toast were the perfect example of a quick, satisfying meal. Usually made with canned sardines, the fish were mashed with a little vinegar, mustard, or lemon juice and spread on hot toast. So, I guess you can imagine how quickly they were made. Some families grilled the sardines in their cans, then poured them straight over buttered bread. It was a go-to dinner or light lunch, especially popular with students, single men, and working-class families who needed something cheap but filling. Sardines were full of protein and oils, giving the dish both food value and flavor. In its simpleness, it showed the cleverness of the British kitchen, where even the simplest could be turned into something hearty. Bubble and Squeak is a dish full of memories since it's made by frying up leftovers from the traditional Sunday roast. Most commonly, it used mashed potatoes and cabbage, though carrots, sprouts, and parsnips often made their way in too. The name comes from the bubbling and squeaking sound the vegetables make as they fry in a pan. It was popular across all classes, though especially loved by working-class families determined not to waste food. Bubble and Squeak was usually eaten on Monday mornings or evenings, giving the Sunday feast a second life. Many older British people fondly remember mothers or grandmothers at the stove flattening the mixture into a golden cake and serving it with cold cuts or a fried egg. Egg and Soldiers is one of Britain's most loved childhood breakfasts. Simple but always comforting. A soft-boiled egg cooked for just 5 minutes sits in an egg cup waiting to be cracked open to show its golden yolk. Strips of buttered toast or soldiers were dipped into the yolk, making it both fun and satisfying to eat. It was especially popular for children, though adults enjoyed it too as a quick, light breakfast before work. Its charm was in its simpleness and the routine of dipping toast into the runny egg. In many homes, egg and soldiers were a weekend treat, giving families a moment of comfort before the business of the day. For countless British people, the taste instantly brings back memories of childhood kitchens. Fried bread with dripping was a main food in working-class British homes, especially in the mid-20th century when nothing went to waste. Bread slices were fried in leftover beef dripping, which was normally fat saved from the Sunday roast until it became golden and crispy, which didn't take long at all. The result was a rich, tasty slice with a deep meaty flavor, served hot for breakfast or dinner. It took only about 5 minutes to make, making it one of the quickest ways to create a filling snack. This dish was popular with laborers and miners who needed energy-packed meals as it combined the heartiness of bread with the strength-giving fats of meat. Toad in the hole quick version with pan-fried batter. The traditional toad in the hole is baked, but a quicker version became popular for a quick meal. In this speedy method, sausages are browned in a frying pan before a thin batter similar to Yorkshire pudding is poured around them. The batter cooks quickly on the stove top, puffing and getting crispy around the sausages in about 10 minutes. This dish was usually eaten for dinner by families who wanted toad in the hole but didn't have time to wait for a long bake. It was especially popular with working families looking for a middle ground between hearty and fast. Many remember this pan-fried version as a weekday dinner, a clever shortcut that still gave the satisfaction of the traditional dish without the long wait. Treacle sandwich. The treacle sandwich was a sweet, sticky treat that could be made in just a couple of minutes. Slices of bread were spread thickly with golden syrup or black treacle, then pressed together to create a quick and sugary snack. It was most often eaten by children after school, though adults with a sweet tooth enjoyed it too. It cost almost nothing to make, yet it gave a burst of energy and comfort. This was the kind of food working-class families counted on to satisfy hunger without spending much, and it became a treat that kids looked forward to. Many still remember the excitement of pulling apart a treacle sandwich, watching the syrups and licking their fingers afterward. Jam sandwich / jam buddy. Jam sandwiches, or jam buddies as they were called in the north of England, were a main part of British tea times and school lunches, and they were similar to the treacle sandwich. Made by spreading fruit jam onto bread and sometimes buttering it first, they were quick to make, taking no more than 3 minutes. They were popular with children, workers, and anyone needing a fast bite. The sweetness of the jam paired with the soft bread made it a memory-filled favorite, especially in post-war Britain when fancy things were limited, but jam was affordable. Cheese and pickle sandwich time. 3 minutes. Yes, as you may have guessed, sandwiches are pretty quick to make. The cheese and pickle sandwich is one of Britain's best-loved combinations, bringing together sharp, aged cheddar and tangy pickle. All it needed was slicing bread, buttering it, layering in cheese, and adding a spoonful of chunky pickle before pressing it closed. This sandwich became a main part of workers' lunch boxes and picnics, a quick meal that packed plenty of flavor. It appealed across the classes as school children loved it for its tangy bites, while factory workers and office clerks counted on it as a reliable midday meal. The balance of savory and sweet made it timeless, proving that some of the simplest recipes stand the test of time for better than complicated ones. Stoddy cake sandwiches. Northeast staple. The stoddy cake, a thick round flatbread from the northeast of England, was the base of many hearty sandwiches. Usually, it was sliced open and stuffed with fillings such as ham, bacon, or peas pudding. making a meal that could be made in just 5 minutes. The stotty's heavy texture made it perfect for holding strong fillings, keeping workers full for hours. It was especially popular in mining communities and factory towns where families needed big food that was quick to make before long shifts. While other areas may not have known it well, in Newcastle and Durham, the stotty cake was a source of local pride. It was food that showed strength, thrift, and the character of the Northeast. Cold meat and pickles plate. The cold meat and pickles plate was the heart of British practicality. A dish put together from the leftovers of the Sunday roast. In just 5 minutes, slices of cold beef, ham, or pork were served alongside mustard, pickled onions, or chutneys. This dish was most commonly eaten on Monday evenings, turning yesterday's feast into an easy meal without cooking. It was common across both middle and working-class homes, but especially loved by families who wanted to stretch their food further. Oatcakes with cheese. Staffordshire-style Staffordshire oat cakes are thin, savory pancakes made from oats, flour, and yeast. Unlike Scottish oat cakes, which are biscuit-like, these are soft and bendable, so they were perfect for wrapping around fillings. A popular quick version was to warm them on a pan and top them with cheese, which melted in just a few minutes. Ready in about 5 minutes, they made a cheap breakfast or dinner. Oatcakes with cheese were especially loved in the potteries region of Staffordshire, where they were often sold by street vendors and cafes. They were a working man's food, hearty enough to fuel long days in factories or mines. Though simple in appearance, they had a deeply local identity, making them a treasured regional specialty. Corned beef hash. Frying pan version. Corned beef hash became popular during the mid-20th century, especially after wartime rationing when canned corned beef was widely available. The quick frying pan version involved dicing potatoes and onions, tossing them with chopped corned beef, and frying the mixture until crispy in around 10 minutes. It was a dish of thrift and necessity, but also comfort, filling kitchens with a savory smell. It appealed especially to working-class families who needed to stretch cans of meat into hearty meals. Many people look back fondly on corned beef hash as the flavor of post-war Britain, remembering mothers and grandmothers frying it up for a quick tea. Though simple, it was a dish that carried warmth, familiarity, and the cleverness of making do. Peas pudding on bread. Peas pudding is a spread made from split peas, boiled and mashed into a smooth paste, often seasoned with salt and pepper. While the pudding itself took hours to make, once it was made, eating it was as simple as spreading it onto bread. So, basically a minute. In the northeast of England, peas pudding on bread was a main snack or light meal, often paired with ham or bacon. It was cheap, filling, and nutritious, making it especially common among working families. It carried a strong regional identity with the famous rhyme, "Peas pudding hot, peas pudding cold," keeping it alive in memory. It was one of those foods that spoke of both hardship and pride. Bread and butter pudding. Cheats version. Bread and butter pudding is one of Britain's most memory-filled desserts, usually baked slowly in the oven, but a quick Cheats version could be made in about 10 minutes under the grill. Buttered bread. Slices were layered with sugar, milk, and sometimes a handful of raisins, then placed under heat until the top browned and the milk soaked through. This speedy take was often made on weekdays when families didn't have time for the full version. It was especially popular among thrifty families who wanted to use up stale bread. Memories linger strongly with this dish. Many remember grandmothers making it after Sunday tea, the smell of sweetened bread filling the kitchen. It wasn't just dessert, it was a hug in food form. Welsh rarebit. Welsh rarebit is one of Britain's most well-known comfort foods, often thought of as fancy cheese on toast. Unlike a simple slice of cheese melted onto bread, Welsh rarebit involves making a savory sauce from sharp cheddar, mustard, a splash of ale or milk, and sometimes Worcestershire sauce. The mixture is spread thickly over toasted bread and then grilled until golden and bubbling. It was a favorite dinner dish or a quick lunch enjoyed by students, working families, and even in gentlemen's clubs. It's hearty, affordable, and rich in flavor, giving ordinary bread a fancy touch. Traditionally, it was eaten in the evening with a pint of beer, making it a beloved dish for those who wanted something filling without spending hours in the kitchen.